Hi there. Quick update on previous position from previous video. Let's take a human look at this position. So, well, I would turn on engine just to show you that it's not really of a big help. So this is a relation of Stockfish 9. So far that's the newest version I have access to. So it gives zeros, right? First it says that black is slightly better, but then it chooses two zeros. And normally speaking, we as a human beings are inclined to say, well, it looks equal, yeah? So these pawns are not going, right? Black has 3 extra pawns, but black can hardly make any use of it, right? So it must be a draw. And especially when you see the evaluation of the engine, I would just turn it on again. It's preferring black slightly, then zeros. Most likely, most people would think this is a draw. But let's take a look. Let's use the human eye. Let's see what can black do. Black has 3 extra pawns. Let's see what black got. So this bishop is just has to be standing on this diagonal to controlling the promotion square, right? Okay, that's fine. Let's see what about the king. The king also cannot really go anywhere as long as the bishop is controlling the pawn. King cannot go anywhere, right? So let's look at the pawns. If you move any of these pawns, white would just take it and say thank you. So after brief look, hopefully one would understand that black cannot make any progress. So naturally you would jump to conclusion that, well, it must be a draw. If black cannot make progress, it must be a draw. That's not how it works. It works, you should also reverse the question. Can white make progress? Because subconsciously you see 3 extra pawns, you see the evaluation of the engine, you say, okay, fine, black cannot win, it's a draw. But if you phrase the question, all right, black cannot make any progress, let's take a look at white's perspective. Let's see what white can do. The same logic applies to this bishop. This bishop can never leave this diagonal. It would the pawn would either promote, the pawn on g7 would be lost, right? So the bishop cannot go anywhere. It can just go back and forth. But this guy on g1 is not doing anything. It's just standing there. White is not making use of the most crucial piece of the endgame, the king. So let's imagine what would happen if somehow the king could make progress and pass this long diagonal and let's say appear on b6, somehow on b6. What would white do then? It's not that hard to comprehend. The king just goes here, pawn promotes, king wins the bishop, then king comes back going to e7, and then black would run out of moves and white would promote the pawn with quick checkmate to follow. So now when you realize that black cannot make progress, but white can, but it's not obvious yet how, because how do you cross the long diagonal without losing the pawn on g7 and without letting the pawn promote? In fact, there are 2 ways to break through. One of them is the following. White's king is going here. If the king moves, king goes through, and that's it. We know what to do later. But black has waiting move as the bishop. But then white can go king h6 with this threat. Now black has to go king e8, king g8, and then king crosses to the queen side, ignoring even maybe that pawn, and just going to make fun to go as checkers. White is playing checkers and black is playing using the other color. So there is a better way for black to hold white's king, and it is to go d4, bishop d4. Since white's king was able to go through like this only because of g6 square, the bishop can go to e4, and after king h6, black still has to go king g8, because if black doesn't, white would promote and go king h7. So black goes king g8, and it seems that white's king cannot break through, right? Nope. Very typical way to handle these kind of situations is a waiting move, specifically useful in different colored bishops. I like this example because it illustrates the point of one diagonal, a principle that I learned from Dvoretsky endgame manual when I was studying bishop endgames in general, specifically the different colored bishop ones. So, principle of one diagonal is crucial. How come this bishop is so powerful? It is supporting its pawn while not letting all these pawns go any further. It's doing two jobs, protecting the pawn and stopping the your opponent's pawns. And it is able to do that so effectively because everything is lined up on one diagonal. On the other hand, when you look at this bishop, it has duties on two diagonals. It has to guard the pawn, it has to guard this square. If you make a waiting move, black runs out of moves, bishop has to move, king cannot move. If king moves, it's promoting, my apologies, king g8. White makes a waiting move, bishop c3, for example. If king goes to f7, it's queen and promoting, right? So black cannot do that. Black has to either give up more pawns, but you don't have so many, right? The bishop has to move somewhere and the king crosses to the queen side. And that's it. We know what to do later. However, there's a maybe even simpler way to break through. You need to understand that I can go through this square, but white can also use the queen side, but I specifically put the bishop on a1 for it not to be obvious. If I were to put the bishop on c3, I think it would be much more simple to understand that the king, this is just for fun using dark squares, it's a Rete principle. Any route is equal distance despite geometry. The king crosses like this. That's very simple. King can cross through b2 and go there, and we know what to do next. And now I want to briefly make fun of the engine. So whenever the engine, it actually doesn't apply specifically to different colored bishop endgames. To other endgames with more pieces. The engine can evaluate as zeros. In this case, it's just completely wrong. It's just not seeing a way to improve the position for the same bug that it cannot understand the fortress, I believe. So I would just show the depth 45. You can almost never see a bigger depth than that. So I would just go through the main line. The engine still gives zeros. Still doesn't understand what is happening. I go to a3. I thought maybe if I push it to a3 it would realize what is happening. For some reason it's giving up a pawn. Okay, I'm taking, and his way king b2 being the move that engine is saying no, please don't go anywhere. It's for some reason there's a bug probably that the bishop cannot handle so many pawns alone. The king has to stay. But if you go further, finally it realized that it is a win. Only with human guidance. Only with human guidance. So whenever the engine gives zeros, it may mean a draw, but there are many cases where it means that he doesn't see a way, for one side cannot improve at all, like black here, but the engine doesn't appreciate or cannot find a way to improve for the other one, so it gives zeros. There are many endgames that human beings evaluate as better for one side because there's clear way to make improvement, and the other side has to be waiting, and the engine gives zeros. It doesn't mean it's equal. It means that the engine says I can hold it. In this case, the engine is completely wrong, but always try to guide the engine rather than be guided by the engine. And final thought would be, I gave this position to many people, and for most people the first intention is it's a draw because I don't see how I with colors reversed, but doesn't matter. In this case, black cannot make any progress, so it's a draw. But when you say, okay, I'll give you more time, suddenly they realize that maybe I should turn it around. And I remember approximately how much time did it take. I gave this puzzle blindfolded to grandmaster Igor Kovalenko. I was naming the pieces for him, like 2 seconds. 2-3 seconds he says, bishop c3, king goes through b2. That's it, that's all. It impressed me a lot. I don't know how much time would it take me to solve this one because I came up with it. So, but in any case, the bottom line, don't be guided by the engine, guide it using your own judgment. Even asking the questions of the engine, like, why don't you consider this when play a move? You could be wrong and the engine would show you why, but sometimes you can convince the engine that you were right. In the worst case, you don't get anything. In the best case, you learn and you beat the engine. So why not take a risk and try to be good of your opinion and offer a move, offer an idea. Why does it say that? Why does it evaluate the position in the following way, like in this case? I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe. See you later.